In today's episode, I will do a breakdown of my sound design remake of 2001 A Space Odyssey. In particular, a famous scene that features the Blue Denim from Johann Strauss. I remove completely the music and I create an entire scenery made of sound. So let's have a look. Okay, so I'm going to quickly preview the various scene of the film. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's the first scene, the huge spaceship approaching. Then another shot from the smaller spaceship coming over. Then we have the inside of the spaceship, the void of the universe, which is probably to silence. A close pass of the spaceship. Then we have the cockpit of the pilots, and then the space hangar. So, like most of you know, that this scene is pretty famous in the film because it features the music from the Blue Danube, and it's there in this scene there is just music and there is no sound. So I just wanted to recreate, obviously removing the music, and recreate all the sort of ecosystem of the sounds and create an aesthetic fantasy vision of the scenes. So the first thing we have here the big spaceship which is approaching. So we have here bass rumble, which is I think it was a rocket launch sound, which I equalized promptly because without equalization it will be brutal. So it's just a sort of bassy engine of a spaceship that is coming over, and because it's a really big spaceship, the engine would be like massive. And then I decided to use a reactor for another sound of this is mostly for aesthetic reason. And then cutting to the next scene. So I use Monarch from Reactor. Monarch is mostly famous for bass sounds, and I use a bunch of wave plugins, VST, that really give character and power and some reverb. And I have also used a reverb return. So I just play this without all the plugins. It's just a quite boring bass sound, but with the return on and with the wave plugins on, the sounds, it's much more full of character. So that was the first scene, the spaceship approaching. Then we have another cut of a smaller spaceship, and this is the spaceship that will enter the big one. So that's they're traveling to space to go towards the spaceship. So this is again, you can hear some. I decided to put some radio frequency interferences, some like glitchy sounds with some reverb and some equalization. So one sound is in mono, with the other one is in stereo. And then here below we have radio voice, mission controller archive. I just wanted to modify this voice and make it sounds really eerie. So if I remove all the devices, so that's pretty normal. And then with all these plugins, the one that really makes the difference is the grain delay and the creative devices. So the grain delay gives this really ominous dark tone and dip. So this dip comes from the creative extensions, which are for free, and a free update for Ableton 10. And then an auto pan that goes on left and right slightly. So from the jump from this scene to this one here, So you have the tail of the reverb for this big spaceship blending into this scene. And here you can hear there is a sort of rising sound cutting to the next scene, which is inside the spaceship. So this scene is the most demanding in sense that there is a lot of things happening. So let's go one by one. So the first sounds here, you can see that there's a pen floating, and to give a sound to this pen, I use a ringing here, a sort of sound that you hear when you shot a gun. Well, not all of us has been shooting a gun in life, but it's a sort of shell shock ear ringing sound. So that's the pen that is floating into the spaceship. Then going again. And then here, as the woman is approaching the pen, the auto pan has an automation which is increasing the signal until she's grabbing it. Then we have here Foley. So this is a Foley channel, Foley and effects. So all the movement and all the realism expression of the characters. So I'm just gonna play the Foley. Door opening, closing, and that's the footsteps of her walking into the spaceship. And that was me recording the footsteps. Then grabbing the pen and then put it inside the pocket. Switch off the TV and then walking back. As she's walking towards the left, I think that it would be appropriate to do a automation, panning automation. So she's going left. So probably automate here, going left as well. Yeah. So those are all the Foley sounds, and which I recorded. A part of the sound of the door opening, which I took from a library, and then this sound is the flight announcement sound effect. Like I've just thought, before opening the door there was a sound, and then here she's closing it and she's pushing a button. So those is just a channel from effects and sound Foleys. Then here we have the atmosphere. So the atmosphere of inside the spaceship. So that's all together. So I'm going to one by one. This one here, it's an airplane cabin sound, which is cut off a little bit slightly on the high frequencies and having an LFO that is moving. So you can hear that there is a sort of movement of the filter opening and closing on the high frequencies. And it's spun slightly to the right. Then we have here a sound. This sound, it's from a song of Metal Gear Solid 1, Warhead Storage. The beginning of the song has this very ominous sounding of ambience. And I really like this spaceship sound that is coming and going. So I felt it was really nice for the scene. Then next to, there is another ambience of airplane. This one is slightly panned to the left. So the one here was panned to the right, and this one is panned to the left. So those two are essentially giving me a left and right differentiation. And you can see that it's slightly more bright than the other one. So let's play it together. So we have one on the left and one on the right. And then here we have a mono sound, which is coming from a library. It's called Heart Killer Background. So it's like really bassy, drony like really heavy and thick. And I just decided to put it in mono. So playing all together the atmospheres, so you get this really nice, rich ambience. So just play all together, all the sounds together. Then, let's see here when she's grabbing the pen, you will see this auto pan. Boom. And she grabbed the pen. Then after this scene, we have another scene which is on the outside of the spaceship, the space. So here there is total silence. I thought to add silence in this scene, which has a big contrast between here, this full of sounds, a lot of going on, a lot of bass drony, bass frequencies, rich flavor, and then cut off to silence. I just thought it was very nice. And after this, we have another scene, which is the spaceship going, passing from here to here, going further away. And the other spaceship, the small one, is approaching. So here is the silence, and here we start with some sounds. And we have the big rocket sound, bass rumble from the big spaceship. And here down we have this sound, which sounds really like a dark dungeon, and is actually a shepherd tone. A shepherd tone is the sound consisting of bass, pitch of the tone going downward all the time to infinity. Well, it gives you the illusion of going down to infinity, and I thought it was really nice in this particular moment. Okay, and that next scene, it's the cockpit of the spaceship with the two pilots driving. So in here we have a lot of things going on. First thing, it's a mission control archive. So it's the same, it's actually the same speech from the pilot with the same effects, but this time is inside the spaceship, is inside the cockpit where they are talking. So it's like a sort of voice going on, talking while they are driving. Then here we have a sort of alarm sound that you will probably hear in airplane cockpits or jet cockpits, where there are many sounds of signals of machinery going on. And also here we have a lot of things going on, sort of blips and glitches, that if you follow the picture properly, you will see things flashing. And another one here. So it's just flashing sound of notification from the computer. And then we have the atmosphere of inside the cockpit. So we have airplane cabin sound together with an airplane ambience. So again, we have here. So one was from wide shot, and then it cuts off to leave space to the other one here. And here we see that it's a bit closer. So altogether, this scene will be sounding. So they are just driving in silence, and they are going towards, and they're hearing sound from, you know, hangar and pilots talking, and just sound of the machine. Then the next scene we have here is the final one. It's the hangar spaceship. which is probably we are again, now we are out on the void of the space, but we are still inside the huge spaceship. So this is the actual, this portal here. It's the actual entrance of that big circle. So the cutoff from here to here. So we have the sound of the turbine of the rocket spaceship that are slowly fading out as it's going more inside the spaceship. And then cut to black. So that is the end. So this is all the predisposition of the sounds. And to any of the family group of the effects, of the atmosphere and the Foley, I added, well, first of all, I added a suit plugin, which should be at the end now, actually. So suit plugin, I've done a tutorial previously. It's basically a plugin that removes resonant frequencies. And, in this case, there is a lot of resonant frequencies to remove here. All those, medium to high frequencies resonance. And the same with the atmosphere, and the same with the Foley as well. I just wanted to have, like a sort of cleaning of the resonant frequencies of all those kind of sounds, which would result on less muddiness on the overall mix. Another things that I added, it's a OTT, multiband compression, a slightly one, it's not too strong. So if I just solo one sound here with the OTT is a multiband upward and downward compression applied at the same time. The downward compression is lessening the dynamic range by reducing the louder signal. The upward compression is lessening the dynamic range of the quieter signal, making them louder. So basically, the louder signal and the lower signal are being squashed together at the same time. And the same here with the Foley. And the mix gel compression to just mix all the sound glue together, in order to sound good. On the equalization of the FX, Atmos and Foley effects, I also equalize using the mid-side equalization, which is an equalizer that processes the stereo signal into separate mono and stereo channels to remove certain frequencies from the mono sounding frequencies and the stereo sounding frequencies. So in the case of the atmosphere, for example, the stereo width, it's mostly concentrated here, so that I'm pushing out the higher and medium high frequencies to the stereo field, and the mono one boosting up a little bit more. So yeah, that was the behind the scene of the sound design remake. And if you want to watch the entire scene, you can watch it here. I will put the link in the description. And I hope that you learn some tips of this tutorial. And if you have any question, you can write down on the comments below. And so thank you for everything, and see you on the next one.